Hey, welcome back. All right. I'll try to keep things a little bit shorter today. Just some tricks, tips, other things I want to talk to you about, and one important message. Um, let's kind of go in order. I got some stuff written down. But let's do it. All right. First thing, and I know there's a couple. I have some carryovers that are in my history class as well, and this pertains to history as well. Um, as I go over these lectures that talk about saving smaller, margins, hyphens, and widows, I never want to see it again. Like once it's mentioned in one class, it should carry over for the entire rest of your design career. You should never have hyphens from here until you retire at a ripe old age. Widows and orphans, never again. So when we go through these are like life graphic design lessons. Stop doing them. Like let's move on, and it carries over through every course. Uh, Easy peasy. Just remember that from here on out, and then other instructors will be testing it, and hopefully you'll be introducing it sooner in your career here or for other people if we haven't. So just remember that. Uh, for the bubbler, and when you're working on this, you are to create your own poster and flyer. It's up to you. You pick the size, however you want to do it. It does, it kind of just says student pick it. I want you to have some freedom. I want you to build your own layout. You've been learning how to do layouts in these courses of like, okay, I'm gonna make sure my layout has bleed, it has crop marks, it has a margin, it has all the stuff. So if you go to print, it prints right. So when you do your poster, don't just type in like, I'm gonna type in a 20 by 30 and be done with it. Like do it correctly. From here on out, you do die lines correctly. And I'm gonna check it. Die line must be incorporated in the final design. I want to see the die lines. I want to see your work. One thing that another part is I want to talk about is, and this is the fun of learning, is in here, some stuff isn't mentioned on purpose because sometimes the client is going to talk to you and just tell you stuff. One of those things is mainly for the poster and flyer, and it will carry through to the social media and maybe the vehicle wrap, is product shots. Huh? We're talking about a product. So I want to make sure that the product shot's in there. We're especially talking about box art too. So make sure that when you're doing your poster, you're also advertising the product. Let's see a couple cans. Let's see a 6-pack and show the product. Like, it's, I don't know. I think of any poster you've ever seen that advertise a product. Very few of them don't show the product. And I'm not saying like the product's got to be like, the main thing, but let's put it in there. And as you can see, Bubbler has like great product shots that you can use for every one of their flavors. Like you just pick on one, pick one. It's nice. These are really actually very high res. And good to use for your mock-ups and your posters. You can cut them out, make sure that you cut it out real tight. I don't want any like a little line of orange there because you're too quick. Put in some of the product, let's see it. When it comes to the box art, I literally Bubbler 6-packs is all I typed into Google. And I'll tell you because I've done this before, I've done this rodeo before. Walmart has like really good box shots. And I don't know why. But they're super high res. 2400 by 2400, that's super high res. So like go to these Walmart. Like if you click on the Walmart one and go to visit, you can click through the flavors. I forget how to do it, but you'll know how to do it. But look how insanely high res this is. And this is on a website. And then here, they have the can art too. So dig around. And there are times when you're working with a client and they're like, oh, can you get it from somewhere else? This is super high res. Like this is beautiful. So I do want to see product shots on it. I'm not going to say which ones you pick. They have so many different flavors. Like have it match your poster, If you mainly a pink color, use the pink flavors or use a contrasting one. Have it be part of it. But we do want to see the product on the, because otherwise, what do I buy? I read this great thing. I saw the logo. It kind of mentions, sparkling and buying a 6-pack, but I wish I knew what I was looking for in the grocery store. And that's why we include it. Then I know what I'm looking for when I go to the grocery store, because I saw, this awesome poster down on campus, or I got my flyer at my dorm, and I want to go get a 6-pack of this stuff because I don't want to drink Monster. But what does it look like? So you need to show the client, you need to show not the client, your consumer, what it looks like. So that's a said item. I said it, but it's not in the write-up, but it needs to be included, because you'll have a little talk with your client and they'll be like, oh, can you include this? And you'll include it and you'll write it down and make sure it's included. So don't forget, it has been said, product shots on posters and other items per your design, your new brand layout. So needs to be seen. And like I said, I just gave you the greatest hint in the world. Walmart. Oh, Walmart. I love and hate you. So that's that. So don't do stuff ever again. Products need to be included. Let's talk about, this came up in working with all of you. Love it. Doing these back and forths on the discussion boards, and I get to them as soon as I can. There's a lot of 4-class, but I'm not complaining. The darkest darks. So I mentioned this to, I think, 3 people. And when we start designing, I feel like we jump in and we start, and our initial idea is blah, 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 we're doing this, and that's black. And we kind of sketch things out, or we get it. And then, oh, I got this box and whatever, and then we leave it and it's black. But what I want is to not think about black. So I don't know if you guys know, I actually have an illustration degree, and I was more, like a painter and drawer kind of deal. And actually, Craig Smallish was my instructor in my undergrad, and that's how we became friends. And we've been friends for the past many years. But he taught me, and he's an illustrator also. But one of the things I learned in a painting class is the use of black, and black creates a void. The color of black is like a void. And if you can combine colors to make a really dark color, it's much better than using just a black ink. So I mentioned this a bunch of people. I got this little thing that I've been showing people is in the middle is black. And that's not even showing up the darkest black. But then these are really dark colors. And you can go even darker, but they have more life to them than pure black. So if you're typing something out and you're using pure black, look at your design and be what's the darkest version of a color within my design? And I can use that instead. And you'll see your design will kind of come to life a bit more, because we're not syncing it down with black. And I'm saying that, and that's with this tagline, don't burst my bubble. And if it's all in black, it's heavy. It's supposed to be light, kind of fun, friendly. And I'm not saying don't use black anywhere. There's some designs that I know from students, some of the pop art stuff needs black and really strong blacks, but you can also tone it to something a little bit better. And I did these. I would go probably even darker, but it all depends on what your drawing is. But I would start to say when black is becoming the main component, and it's not something for an emo conference, that maybe black isn't used, but you use a really dark color instead. And it really will change the attitude of the design as a whole. I do this. I tend to not use black unless it's pure black. And I'm using black, white, and red or something like that. Otherwise, if it's fun and expressive, and I'll show you my design, I will use a color, a color instead, a really dark color of something. Much nicer to use. So there you go. Don't use black unless you have to. I avoid it. Well, no, I use black all the time, but I'm doing stuff, presentations for you guys. It's got like high contrast, white and black, but I'll show you my little thing in a minute. Okay, blacks. Now I want to tell you about a tool that I love to use that goes into another tool that you guys should learn to use. So if you happen to use a tablet or you have like a Wacom, you can borrow Wacoms from the library here. We have a whole slew of them if you ever want to use that. And that's using a stylus instead of a mouse. And one great thing to use is it's called the blob brush tool. Now the blob brush tool allows you to draw and it smooths things out for you. Like I can kind of be like erratic and it smooths things out. And so it's really nice. So you can start to draw what you want, or if I have I'll take a drawing, and I did it with my palm tree is I brought my drawing in and then I used the blob brush on top of it to fill. Now you're like, well, I can do that with anything. What's the great part about the blob brush is there's a couple things. One, with a single color, I can go back in. Oh, I got to do this in a color because I'm on a black layer. And I meant to do this so you can see the difference. All right. Oh, I'm going to just change it to yellow. I'm going to change it to bright green. So as you can see, it creates a shape with my drawing, not a line. And when I go back in and I add more, because I'm working on it, and I go back, it adds to the shape. So if you're creating something and you're trying and you get a curve and you're like, oh, I want it a little bit better. And you can keep tweaking it and it just builds and it doesn't add more and more. It just makes it part of the same thing. And then you can go to the erase tool and of course erase, and it takes it right out and it separates it. Now the second great part about this blob brush is then, oh, I'm going and I got my lime section here. All right. And then I'm going to blob brush and I'm going to change the color, and I want to go to red, and I'm going to color with red, and I'm going to go over that because I do this when I work because I want the red on top. Now the rad part is it keeps them separate. They're on the same layer, but it doesn't merge them. So I can then go to another color, or I can change that color. I got to click off of it, go back to the blob brush tool, and go to let's do blue. And then I'm going to go across this, because I want this layer effect. Once again, it keeps them all separated. Now, if I'm on one and I use the erase tool and I go across, because I had the one color selected, it only erases the part of the blue. But if I don't have anything selected and I do the erase tool, it will erase every color. It is a fascinating tool to use. It is, how come I haven't heard of this sooner? It's sometimes hard to teach graphic design students a lot about illustrative stuff because we want you to get the graphic design base done. And I've just started doing this. And the blob brush is fairly new. And me and my old man age, I've just started using tablets and drawing digitally because I used to just scan and use the pen tool, which is great. But I found a great new freedom of sketching and then bringing in my sketch. And I even do the sketches digitally, so they're scratchy, and then I bring them in and smooth them out. And I'll show you what I did in a minute. Here comes the raddest part. All right, I'm going to change this to a red. Because a lot of you are doing this too. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be a dark color. I'm going to make a shape. A good old bean. All right, so it's a blob, which means I have an inner and an outer. And this is a 3-step process. You bear with me on this one. I am going to delete the inner shape so I get a solid shape. Instead of sitting there and filling it in, all I do is take this direct line, click on the inner shape, and I'm going to hit delete twice. There we go. So I have now created a single shape, but the computer, Illustrator, still wants to call it a compound path. And so the next one, I have to go to Object, Compound Path, and Release. So now this is considered a shape, okay? A pure shape. Now we're talking about Bubbler. I already got a cool font picked out, and it's BUBBL''R. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of want it to fit in here. How do I get it to fit in there? Hold down Shift, right? If you know about this, you know about it. If you haven't, be prepared to have your mind blown. Sometimes it works good, sometimes it doesn't work as good, and sometimes you have to adjust. Now, what I want to do is make sure that these are reversed. I want my shape on top and my text underneath. So I'm going to grab my shape, go to Object, Arrange, bring the front. Now I'm going to grab my 2 objects, and I know, like, I feel like 50% of you can use this in your designs. Then that's why I'm showing you this. Okay, here it is. I'm going to Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object. Are you ready? It fills it with the text darn near perfectly. There's nothing you need to do. You can do the weirdest shapes and it just fills it. And then so like this is like this, then you can expand it. So I'm going to go to, because this is kind of set, and sometimes you do these set things and it's hard to adjust. And if you're like, that's exactly how I want it to look, or you kind of adjust your shape, go back, undo, redo. I'm going to go to Object, and then there's Edit, Expand. And then I'm just going to hit OK. And then, well, it's black. I'm going to change it to just a lighter color so we can see the outlines. So you can see the black outlines. And then see, now they are all individual. And if I needed to tweak any, which you should do if something's not looking right, like, oh, I want to bring this part of the L down. These are all now editable. And you can do that with any shape. Like it's a good, if you've got a circle, I mean, this is just the standard. And it's so hard to fill those circles. Just type out, no. Sorry. Let's do Bubbler again. Boop, capital R. Now, because that's a solid shape, I don't have to go through that monkeying business where I did before. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be like there. I think you can do it pretty far away. It's just like the shape needs to be on top. Object, Arrange, bring to front. Like, what if I'm just going to barely overlap it. I'm going to make sure they're both selected, Edit or Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object. Whoa. Beautifully fit, perfect lines, everything. But then I would go in then the designer in me, I'm like, is there a flare out? Make sure there's no like weird flare outs where you don't want them. It's probably there's a little bump there you could fix, So there you go. It's like 2 for the price of 1. Use that blob brush tool if you're like a little bit into the illustration and can draw. And like even if you're doing like your general shapes, and I don't want to apologize. I mean, there's great ways to do everything. Try a ton of different ways. So that's how you get text to fill an area. So, and that's what I've done. And so like, here's my design. Let me spacebar over. I'm going to pull a student. I'm really far behind on my design. I've been busy this week. But I'll show you some things I've developed with it, and then why I worked on that idea or bringing up the envelope distort is I've come to this point. I did my sketch. I've made some adjustments. I made some adjustments in several ways. One, I want to show you like nowhere is black used in here. It's a cartoony image, but I never put black on it. Nothing's outlined. Kind of the leaves are, but that's even, not really outlined. It's dark green, and it's it's got some texture to it. Even these little marks for the palm tree, not black, dark brown. Why use black? There's no reason to use black. And then I expanded on it. When I made my water puddle, I realized I had my water puddle low before, and I was like, oh, if I make the water puddle in line with this pink, it naturally creates this negative shape, which I think is pretty kind of like a cool transition of like, instead of making the shape, this is literally not a shape. You know what I mean? Like in finding those cool visual developments that you can do with working with foreground, background. Can I not show a shape but have a shape appear? It's like kind of rad stuff. And so I came to that because I was like, this shape is supposed to have that. I want that text in there. So this is the thought process that I have to go through though. So I'm going to take this shape. Now I want, it's like don't, and I think burst my goes here, summer bubble goes here, and then giveaway is going to go here. So I'm going to do burst my, because I have to do something, I have to actually make that shape or something close to it. But I don't want it to fill it. Okay, I'll do the two examples. I have my shape, and I go to object, and I go to combo path. Oh, it's release clipping mask. Oh, I released it from all its glory earlier. And now I'm going to, take my type, and I go burst my. All right. Now I'm going to make it big. And I'm actually going to turn it white because I can. I know you can't. Well, I'll move it up into this gray area as we work. And then I'm going to move that on top. And this one, I think I needed to work it. It wasn't turning out great for me, but I'm going to show you something else I need to do. Object, arrange, bring to front, grab those, object, envelope distort, make with top, boom. It gets a little bit funky. So I have to work on my shape because I don't like some of this, but it's a great start. So, and then when I put it on here, this is my problem. It's made to fill that shape completely. And I don't want that. I want it to be inset. And by that, I'll show you what I mean. I have this shape, okay? I'm going to turn it to outline only, and I'm going to, from center out in my strokes, show the whole thing. All right. It is in the center, and it doesn't really matter. I could go on the inside if I wanted. Then you just do it half the amount. But I'm just like looking at that, and I'm like, how much border do I want on this item before like the letters start? And so I can go like, maybe I just go like, I'll give it a big border. I'll give it a 20. All right. So I created a border, but now I have to make that stroke an actual shape. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to object, edit. Oh God, I forgot. I do this so often, I forget where it goes. It's muscle memory. Like I don't even think about it. And I'm going to outline stroke. And then, so now, let me change that color so you guys can see it. To the black. So you can see what I'm talking about. I want this inside shape only. So I'm going to go to that small brush. I'm just going to grab just that little outline. I'm going to hit delete, delete. And that gives me with just the center. And then I'm going to go to object and I'm going to make sure it is not a compound path. It is. I'm going to release it from its grip of compound pathedness. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go burst my. And you know what I never tried is the size, if the size matters. Maybe I will go this like a little bit smaller. I won't pull it all the way to the edge. I want that text to be white. I want, oh, how do I not have that stupid thing turned off? I want that on top, object, arrange, bring to front, grab them both, edit, object, excuse me, envelope distort, mesh with top. And then when I bring it over here, look at that. It's got a nice border around it, the exact same border all the way around. That's how you do that. There's steps to the process. Where did I learn this? I made it up. Like, you do what you got to do in certain times and you keep trying. I want it to be like this. How do I do that? I do a lot of that outline stuff, bring it in, and then undo the, make the outline a path, or make a stroke, a shape, and then I delete parts. And you can get some really awesome effects by doing that. You can offset, like that's how you do like some offsets things. I'm going to teach you later on with like how to do proper outlining of fonts. That's where that sometimes comes in, or like, offsetting these. These are shapes. These aren't lines. Those are all shapes. Like I very rarely ever deal in line. Like even when I'm doing, like, if I draw some lines, I generally eventually will turn them into a shape, knowing that they'll scale better. They'll scale with my designs and stuff. So there you go. There's a little cool funness for you. Last thing is when we talk about bringing our design, and this will be really quick. We talk about bringing our design to our poster. Where is that? I got a hidden thing somewhere. There it is. Look how cool that looks. I still love it. I'm still blown away that how well that works. All right, so say for my design, I'm gonna start, and I got my logo, and I got to finish it up, and maybe I got to do my stuff, and it's gonna be up in the corner, blah blah blah. I got to figure out background. I got to go on a more dynamic background. I'm not gonna use white. Maybe I'll even twist it. No, I think this works best because that's already on an angle. And I may adjust my water puddle, which is the great part. If I want to adjust that water puddle, I just go to it, get my blob brush, double check make sure I'm clicked on the right thing, get my blob brush, it's on the right color, and I can just, oh, look at that, I made that better. I can just add to it and change it and keep adjusting it till I like it. So again, a fantastic little tool. You use that for adjusting anything. If I make a circle, you should be able to mess with this. Because it's the same color. It is. So you can. I have to turn on my stupid layers of black so you can see it. See what I mean? So I drew a circle, and then if I'm like, oh, I want it to make it look more like a plum, like I want an indent on the top, and I can just color that in, and it's still a perfect circle. Please don't do it this messy. It does become one piece, but you can see where I missed all that. And then you can go back in, and then I'm like, why did you do that? And you just erase that. Now here's the other part. When you erase and you're like sloppy like this, don't let things out there, right? You got to get rid of all that crap. So have fun with that. Okay, delete. I don't know, I keep going back to that. Oh, because I know I want to work on that water. But I can continue to work on the water. And I can adjust it with the pen tool as well, which I probably would eventually just double checking the pen tool. So I got my design. I want my logo up here, you know, blah, blah, or maybe, you know, have something over here. Don't burst my summer bubble giveaway. And maybe I'll have a couple cans here, up in here. And I know I got to have my body copied. I want something red, but I want a separator and I want to bring something from my design in. And so I want to bring this water feature in, but I don't want it to be like, I just brought in the water feature. Like I want it to be smarter than that. And so I want that shape down there. So I'm just going to quickly, I just took this water. I'll do it for you instead of talking about it. Delete. I'm going to copy that. Boop. I want it bigger. Beep. Burp. Kind of want it at the edge. Got to remember, you know, I got to have bleed, right? We all have to have bleed. I can't get too tight. And then I'm going to take a square. Where the fuck is it going? There it is. And I'm going to draw a square on top. I'm going to grab these two. I'm going to go to properties. Oh, I think they moved it off. No, I want this. I want to expand that. I'm going to break it up. And then I'm going to take this tool, and I know where my breakups are. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to delete that. And there I have. And now I have a matching feature at the bottom where I could stick some other kind of stuff that exactly represents this shape is here. And so instead of me just drawing like, oh, I got a curvy shape here. No, use the exact shape you built and translate it to someplace else on the design. Don't start over, and because it's obvious. And then even though people may not like quote unquote notice, it just looks good. You know, it's not starting something new. There's no reason to do that. I already did this shape. Let's repeat that shape, and then this will continue to the flyer, and this may be used on the vehicle, and this may be, you know, this little accent may be used, you know, social media, and there, so on and so on. God, I really need some color. I want to use their pink. I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. I mean, it's going to be yellow. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, is this my sketch? Oh, yeah. So remember, this is that sketch I started with. From to which this was born. And literally, yeah, I just blob brushed on top of it. And then I knew, don't do the font anymore. I knew I changed it enough to know like what I wanted and how it was going to work. Yeah, let's just see this real quick. This might be horrible. Let's see. And then I'm going to let you go. Oh, it's not going to be horrible. I mean, it needs to be orangey. I might go something in there. And now I have to fill that with white because my rad ass idea doesn't work anymore. But I like the idea that it was split. And I hope people see my cute little design change. So there you go. That's it from me today. Yeah. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, cool. Thank you very much. I hope you learned something. I hope you learn something every time we talk. But yeah, enjoy, have fun. And if I don't talk to you sooner, I'll talk to you on Tuesday. Just make one up. QR code, find a weird QR code. Dates, I believe it's mentioned. Yes, everything always goes in the presentation. Yes, yes, yes. The promotion spans from March to May. It's in the very first overview. So that's like a creative brief. These are written like creative briefs. Sorry, I'm circling the wrong screen. Most stuff is in here. Please ask me questions. But yeah, if you don't see it, like double read stuff, you don't want to always ask your client double things again. So no, it's all good. But thank you for. What else is there? Yeah, that's it. Cool. Thank you. Goodbye. Enjoy.